Hi, I'm Alana. Welcome to our video. In today's video, we are at Infosec, which is the largest cybersecurity conference in Europe.
What we do is always additive. We can make you taller, we can make you heavier, we can make you older. We can't go the other direction.
So I just attended a talk by a woman called Jonna Mendez, who is a former CIA operative. She was the chief of disguise in the CIA, and she talked about like so many interesting things. She talked about how during the Cold War, the Americans would use rats, like dead rats, to hide like money and film and stuff like that in for spies. They would like gut the rats and then like sew them up again and then dip them in Tabasco sauce so that no like other animals would eat them, and then they would like hide them for other like CIA spies. She also talked about like the 4 ways that you can get information from someone, like the 4 most common ways that someone is going to divulge information that they're not meant to, is like an acronym she called MICE, M-I-C-E. The first one is money. People divulge classified information for money. The second one is ideology. The third one, the C, was compromise. Like if you have information on someone that they don't want anyone knowing, then you can blackmail them. And the fourth one, E, was for ego. Like if someone hates their boss or something, then that's another way that people commonly might divulge classified information. She said that she was working close with several of the American presidents. She said that she actually showed the disguises that the CIA were working on to old George Bush, like the first old George Bush when he was president, and she literally sat in the White House and told him about this disguise, and then she took the face off and she showed us a photo of her at the White House, showing him the mask that the CIA had created. And the movie Argo is about her husband's life, and her name is Jonna, not Jonna. No, sorry, her name is Jonna Mendez, and she has 2 books out, one called The Moscow Rules and one called In True Face, both by Jonna Mendez. And so now I'm going to talk about cybersecurity in the age of AI.
But this is exactly what shadow AI is changing, and organizations that will not work quickly stay behind.
Right, so that was a great talk by Alex Zoldova. Now the next talk I'm going to do is in 20 minutes, and it's a case study by a company who accidentally hired a North Korean spy. Oh my gosh, I just listened to the most interesting talk by the company that accidentally hired a North Korean actor. They said that he was using a stolen identity, like a stolen driver's license from an American citizen, and he interviewed really well, and then they detected as soon as he was hired within 1 day, just from his activity, not just one thing, but the all of the things that he was doing put together. He tried to install some malware from a malicious Zoom site, and he installed a jump desk, and then he asked if he could take the laptop to Texas, interstate, and their security team was watching him, and they quickly bricked the laptop. It only took them 1 day, but they were talking about how he got past all their hiring processes, and I asked at the end, did he speak good English, and do you think that he used AI in his video interview, and was it a remote job? And he said that he did speak broken English, but a lot of people speak broken English, and that's not something that they're gonna discriminate against in hiring decisions. And he also said that in the video interview, he was there were kind of suspicious pauses before he answered the question, and so he thinks that he was possibly using AI for his video interview, and his responses to some of the questions were outstanding, like suspiciously perfect. But also like with COVID, a lot of work is remote now. And so yeah, that was absolutely fascinating.
Expo Floor is telling you AI driven, and that's given malicious actors more opportunities than ever to steal, disrupt, and even attack.
A company called Jonna had an ice cream machine at their booth, and they gave me some free ice cream. Wow, that talk was so good. It was by a man called Javvad from a company called Know4, and he was talking about how he told AI he wanted to get out of a parking ticket, so he got a parking ticket, and then he told AI I don't want to pay this, and then he was trying to figure out different ways that he could not pay the parking ticket, and he was like, well, maybe if I had diplomatic immunity, and then he was like, how could I get diplomatic immunity? I know, I'll create a country, and he created this fake country called Javistan, and he convinced AI that it was real. So his talk was basically about how easy it is to convince AI that something is real or legitimate or a reliable source when it is actually not. It's a very good talk. Good morning, sunshine. We're now heading into day 2 of Infosec. The first talk that I'm going to today is called Hacking the AI Employee, and it starts at 10 and it goes for 1.5 hours, and it's a live demo demonstrating how easy it is to hack an AI employee. Because previously, social engineering would have been most relevant to humans, but now in the age of AI, everything is different, and so there are so many talks on AI this year. So that will be the first talk I'm going to, live demonstration, how to hack an AI employee, which should not be too hard. From my personal experience with ChatGPT and Claude, it should be very interesting. You want to know something really interesting that I don't think I've ever experienced before in my life? Is that, there are mainly men here at this conference. It's mainly men. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of men, and there are some women. And the toilets, this is something I've never experienced before, the line for the men's bathroom is so long, and there is no line for the women's bathroom. I still have not seen Graham clearly yet, but God, if that is in your will for me to see him, even just see him talk, or see him from a distance, or maybe even meet him or get a photo with him. If that is in your will, God, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. I think this is my favorite booth. By a company called Island. See, look how pretty that booth is. And it has an actual whole island here. And then they have a little coffee place there, and some little computer situations here. See how pretty is it? So I'm here with Raf from this Island booth, the really pretty one. And Island is basically an enterprise browser. So he's just giving me a very impressive demo of how it works. Okay, I just spent a long time talking to that Raf man from the Island place, and he was telling me all about Island. And it's basically an enterprise browser that has everything in it, and then it kind of prevents the user from it detects sensitive data and stuff like that, and prevents the user from misusing sensitive data, and it kind of acts as so that you wouldn't have to have a work laptop. You could just the user could just use their personal laptop, but it has all of the tailored specific permissions to that user so that like their, you know, access doesn't exceed like what their permissions should be, and they aren't able to like, you know, like copy paste personal sensitive data in places it's not meant to. Like it prevents you from copy pasting sensitive data like credit card numbers into AI, and yeah, I guess that's why it's called Island. It's very impressive. Now I'm going to this 10 a.m. talk if I can find it.
If you don't notice a pest infestation in your crops soon enough, there's disaster waiting at the end of that. And when it comes to quantum and when it comes to the risks posed to your business today, that is exactly what you need to be doing, because it is approaching fast and the implications are today. Encrypted data now and waiting for the day when quantum computing can decrypt that data. You know, a couple of years out of date by now, had it at 2035. So we still have a few years until we get to the end of the NIST timeline. However, in May this year, the Google estimate was pulled down to 2029.
Okay, so that was not the Hacking the AI Employee talk. I accidentally went to the wrong talk, but that was actually like way better. It was by a man called Rick Ferguson, and he was talking about like quantum computing and how we might be able to prepare for it. And he talked about harvest now, decrypt later, HNDL, how like some people have already been like harvesting data that is encrypted in preparation for like when quantum computing comes and allows that data to be decrypted in the future. And so yeah, that was a really interesting talk, and I'm glad that I accidentally went to it.
To identify 3 psychological tactics that might work on each target, and then it will base its generated phishing message based on one of those psychological tactics. So it picks up that file, sees that there's 5 targets in there, comes up with these psychological tactics that might work for me first, generates the message, puts the malicious link placeholder in here, and then moves on to the next target. So okay, we've got 2 phishing messages now, and it uses the information based on the target. So Jessica recently got a promotion, and it probably, in my earlier testing, it uses that information in the phishing message.
And here I am with a squirrel at the Vega booth. So you're an anteater maybe? Is he an anteater or a squirrel?
He's a mole.
A what? A mole! Oh! So here we are with a sweet little mole at the Vega booth. Thank you, mole. That talk was really interesting. He was talking about AI coded malware, and he talked about a group called APT36, which is an advanced persistent threat group that operates out of Southeast Asia. So an advanced persistent threat is just like when you kind of burrow into a company's infrastructure without them knowing, and then like get like into their infrastructure and try and just like stay there for a long time, like, you know, harvesting data or just like doing things behind the scenes without them noticing. So that APT36 is an advanced persistent threat group operating out of Southeast Asia, and he talked about like how they have been basically vibe coding malware, but it doesn't work very well. So yeah.
I'm speaking at Infosecurity, so I'm really honoured to be here. And today I'm going to take you on a little journey. I love testing out what criminals are using because I have a genuine love of crime. For 20 years I've worked trying to explore how criminals work. I used to work in the police force down in Dorset. I used to work in digital forensics and then the cybercrime team. For the past 8 years I've worked with ESET, trying to work out what criminals are using now and in the future. And the best thing about that is I get to test a lot of the tools that criminals are using. Whoa, no way, I can't do that. But then it said, have you tried Grok? Which I thought, fantastic, thanks very much. So I went on Grok, and of course, Grok's there going, yeah, do you want to buy some watches? A little with AI, because it's not always amazing. We hear about it being fantastic, efficient. Everyone out there is telling you they are using AI, military grade, of course, and it's going to test this. So I thought to myself, it's time for a new job.
I can't hear you. How about now?
That talk was so good. It was riveting. It was by a man called Jack Moore, and he talked about how he used AI to he got a job using a different face as a different person, and then using AI to answer all the job interview questions, which he said is very common these days. And he told his boss about it, and his boss was like, that's not that impressive. And so he was like, it would be more impressive if you got a job as a woman. And so then he did it again, but with a woman's face. And he said that it was a several stage interview process, as all job interviews are these days. And he said that as soon as the job interview started, the interviewer saw him and was like, hello. And then he spent the whole job interview flirting with the interviewer. And then he got that job as a woman too. And he was talking about how I think in NVIDIA, he said, has a program where even if you are reading your answers from another part of the screen, you can use this NVIDIA eye contact, I think it's called, to make sure that you maintain eye contact throughout the interview, even if you aren't really maintaining eye contact. So that was an excellent talk. Very, very interesting and exciting.
You also had that point in time, the sophistication of cyber threats was probably directly correlated to the harm. So the more technically sophisticated in particular a particular cyber threat was, the more harmful that was to our communities, to people, to countries, to whatever that kind of threat is portraying. We took over Lockbit's own infrastructure and used it against them to disrupt them. Koroshev, the administrator of Lockbit, it's called Lockbit Sub.
I'm not on yet. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, that I have the best job at Zerofox. We do technical, we do intelligent phones are ringing off the hook. I just try to pull those tickets, which means they can get more money from that separately. Don't hurt children, don't hurt the elderly, and we're not here to take a side. We just this really, really sweet. My guys.
So that was a fantastic talk about the dark web by Darragh, and now I'm going to a talk about women in cybersecurity. If I can find the keynote stage, but I feel like the keynote stage, I feel like the keynote stage literally keeps moving. So, okay, no, it's not moving. It's in the same place. I found it now.
Challenging was I grew up in a lovely place in North London called Edmonton. Does anybody know Edmonton? The shout out yes.
There is a party on at 6 p.m. tonight. It's at this little bar that is on a boat, and it's only for CTI, SOC, and SecOps professionals. So I think I might try and infiltrate it. I might just go, and then if they're go away, then I'll just leave. Yeah. I couldn't get into the SecOps party because at the door they ask who you are and which company you're with. So okay, now we are heading into the third and final day of Infosec. The first talk that I'm going to today is called Decision Making Under Pressure, Leading Through Live Cyber Incidents, and it will be delivered by a man called Jason Fox, I think, he was a former SAS soldier, and he was in the Special Boat Services. So that should be really good. Let's see how we go. I'm actually very early this morning because the weather said that it would rain at 9 a.m. and the tubes are not working because the gosh darn tube workers are on strike. So I had to walk from my house to Tottenham Court Road Station, and then I have to walk back, which is only like 20 minutes, but it's 20 minutes nonetheless. And so I didn't want to walk in the rain, so I left my house at 8 a.m. because it shan't rain until 9 a.m. And so I'm very early this morning, but I am looking forward to another day of cosplaying as someone who is in charge of buying and hiring decisions. So final day, final morning. Okay, the first talk I'm going to starts at 10, so I think I'm going to start by going back to the island booth because that's the cutest one. Remember the one that I showed you last time? This one. See how cute it is? It's like a whole thing. It has like a little booth, and he said the last time they had like cocktails in there, and then it has like this little chair, like an actual bench, and like a little demo set. So definitely the cutest booth by far. And then that's like a little coffee place. Wow, that was so good. That was a talk by former SAS soldier Jason Fox, who was in the Royal Marines, and he talked about like dealing with cyber incidents, but he really mainly just talked about like decision making under pressure and how like in like really stressful situations, like when he was in the military and they were involved in like intense like combat and like trying to get hostages out and stuff like that, he found it really helpful to just like find a place where they could like find cover and just like breathe and like gather themselves for like 10 seconds or however long. But he talked about how like he tried to ignore his symptoms of like PTSD for too long, and then that eventually led to him like being discharged from the Marines, but he was in it for like 20 years. So that talk was basically about like staying calm in a crisis and like not ignoring your mental health. Okay, so I just saw a really interesting talk by a man who works for Arctic Wolf, and he was showing their new Aurora superintelligence AI, because he was talking about how like in this modern age, if like the attackers are using AI primarily to like find vulnerabilities, then they are going to find vulnerabilities, and they are finding vulnerabilities faster than human SOCs can like patch them. And so he was showing Arctic Wolf's Aurora AI, which is trained on, I think he said like 8 exabytes of like real SOC data, like real data breaches and like resolutions to them, that they've gathered over like 14 years. And so he was basically saying that like if the attackers are using AI to find vulnerabilities, then the defenders have to be using AI to defend against it. And I asked him afterwards, I mentioned how one of my universities was recently involved in the Canva hack, and Canva's parent company Instructure ultimately like they tried to do a security patch like after they were already in, and that failed, and they eventually like resolved it by actually coming to an agreement with the ransomware group. And so I asked him like, what are the larger implications of resolving an attack by coming to an agreement with a ransomware group? And he said that like, well, one of the things is, he said their company, Arctic Wolf, they work very closely with ransomware groups and like attackers, so they know kind of which ones are reliable. And he said that like Shiny Hunters is one that is more reliable, and they can actually be trusted to like deliver on their promise if you pay them. So sometimes he said that he will recommend to organizations to pay them, but ultimately like if you do pay them, then you are like funding ransomware groups and that like criminal organizations. So I love that talk. How many did you get?
The cost of an average London lunch, if I may say so.
Okay, so that talk was by a girl. She was talking about like what is our data worth on the dark web? Like what are our profiles worth? She said that our LinkedIn profile is worth $40 on the dark web. Our Instagram profile could be worth $15, and a Netflix profile is worth like $12. And she was talking about how we can help guard against like human risk, and how like that's actually a huge problem because only 2% of security budgets are like currently go towards like managing human security risk. But in 2025, global like cybercrime costs $10 trillion. So like obviously that is not adding up. And so yeah, that was a really good talk. And so that brings us to the end of the 2026 Infosec conference. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. And goodbye. I was just thinking on the train home that like, remember during COVID how everyone was like thanking medical professionals, like thanking doctors and nurses, saying like, thank you so much for all you do. We never really thank SecOps professionals for all that they do, like protecting us from cyber criminals, do we? And maybe we should.